excellence in education, innovative instruction, outstanding programs, and dedication to students. Right here, we have the empty chair. Would ask you to mentally place a student, or maybe 2 or 3. Students are all different. They have different needs, they come in different sizes. But mentally place a student in that chair, and as we're having fun today, and as we're talking, and as we might make decisions later today, please keep those students in mind. I now have the privilege to turn things over to Mike McCormick and Sean Miller, representing the Board of Education.
Thank you, Adeline. Well, on behalf of the board, we just want to thank you so much for being here. Being in education as long as I was, I have a deep appreciation for what you're doing right now, what you'll be doing in a few minutes, but what you've been doing all year. As you head down that this last portion of the year, I do not want you to forget. I saw it every day when here and in the schools, but you not only changed lives, but in a matter of particularly you folks who teach the younger ages, there are things that you can do that will literally save lives of kids, that those kids will come here and find success and find avenues because of the work you've put in, and I'm just real thankful for all of you that do that every day, and we wish you the best in the final stretch, and we hate to lose those of you who will be leading us, but I want you all to know that you're very, very appreciated. Thank you.
And on our agenda this morning, it says accurately the most valuable players recognition, and Mike Bonner will be leading that.
Okay, for the 3rd time this morning since I've been in here, I haven't whooped anybody today, and one of you could be first. So just watch what you say. So it's great to be here for the near end of year celebration. I just got a question. How many of you are actually celebrating that it's near the end of the year? And I know people know, how many days with students do you have left? What? I knew some of you knew that. Not that you're ready to kick them to the curb, and not that we're going to not finish strong, but yeah. We know. Well, it's my privilege to announce our service awards. We start out with the anniversary awards, the 5, 10, 15, 20, and I think we have a 45 year this year. So as I read your name, we go building to building to department to department. We'll hold our applause to the end of each building or department and recognize everybody at that time. So first up, I've got to do things with 2 hands and move presentations and all that kind of stuff. All right, so we're starting with Abilene, and our 5-year staff are Jody Hammerbacher, Rachel Maxwell, Danielle Morford, Darcy Folster, Samantha Blumenhorst, that 10 years. With 15 years, we have Erica Barton, Katie Orr, Carolyn McCune. And then also receiving their 25-year certificate of service for years in education at Abilene is Jill Wishman. So let's give them a hand. I guess it'd be good if we had those people stand up. So if you'd like to stand, please do. If you want to give a wave, you can do that as well. All right, we are at West. We have 5 years. We have Rhonda Bastian, Aaron Moreno, and Tiffany Moses. With 10 years, we have Amy Zuito and Debbie Lewis. 15 years, we have Michelle Lamb. 20 years, Janet Shirk. 25 years, both Mark Hoy and Terry Peterson. And then also receiving the KU 25-year service certificate is Terry Peterson. So let's give them a hand. Next up, Wheatland Elementary. Our 5-year folks are Kelly Green, Katie Harris, Addie Tripp, and Amber Robinson. With 15 years in the district, Tabitha Gingler. 25 years, we have Tammy Venning and Tamara Burt. And then 30 years in the district is Phoebe McCormick. All right, our intermediate school honorees are 5-year Kyle Leffler, Michael Stephen, Jared McDaniel, Jamie Capper, Melissa Harris, and Amy Price. I'm sorry, Aaron Price. 10 years, Karen Spring, 15 years, Jenna Burschauer, and 20 years, Corey Wolf. Earning their 25-year certificate this year is Amy Remington. Valley Center Middle School with 5 years, we have Lisa Gamble, Lindsay Hooper, Samantha L. Johnson. You know there are 2 Samantha Johnsons at the middle school for those who aren't at the middle school, so we always have to specify. Elizabeth Kane, Katrina Polson, Dana Welch, Rachel Yoakum, Sabrina Alley, and Kylie Payne. 10 years, we have Pamela Batman and Michelle Romig. 15 years, Taylor Harrison, and 30 years, Cindy Westmoreland. Our high school honorees at 5 years, Megan Arzola, Jenny Danson, Sarah Pound, Melissa Segovia, Sarah Warren, Kim Williams, Stacy Barber, Loretta Ewing, Gail Gage, and Stephen Howard. With 10 years, we have Jordan Dahl, Caitlin Unrau, Angela Cox, Jennifer Gibson, Emily Nash, Sherry Patterson, and Bradley Phillips. 20 years, we have Angie Person. 25 years, Lisa Durkson and Carol Bowman. Then Amy McDonald is earning her 25-year certificate of service. In our transportation department, 5 years, we have Jacqueline Clark and Franklin Martin. 10 years, Charles Asbury. 15 years, Stephanie Mosier. And 45 years in the district, Gail Johnson. She started here when she was really young. At our Tech, TLC, and Next Steps Academy, we have 5 years Jeanette Unruh, 10 years Irene Gagnon, and 15 years Jeff Tracy and Lucille Fry. In our food service department, we have a couple 5-year people, Jim Spencer and Emily Kelly. In our maintenance and grounds, 10 years, Dan Gentry. Here at the district office, we have Desiree Tyler with 5 years with us. And with the Ark Valley Special Education Cooperative, we have Alice Hartman with 5 years. Kimberly White, 10 years, she's at Sedgwick Elementary, and then 30 years, Carla Martins. All right, we're going to switch over to our retirements at this time. And first off, we want to recognize Lori Shaler. For those of you who don't know, Lori took her retirement at the end of the first semester, so we were lucky enough, Corey and Mr. Hoy and myself and Adeline were able to go and present her with her award at that time. So we heard she's here today. I haven't seen her personally, but if she's here today, please stand up. There she is, Lori Shaler. I believe 23 years in Valley Center and 32 years in education. All right, let me see if I can't make a little change here. Next, please sit back and enjoy our retirement video. If you're in this video, you might start making your way up towards the front as it's playing.
June was our bus driver for boys and girls season the past couple years, and we've been having a lot of fun with him. I think it's neat to have a consistent Gene was our bus driver for boys and girls season the past couple years, and we've been having a lot of fun with him.
right this time. There we go. There we go. Yay. All right. We have some of our retirees aren't here today, but we're still going to recognize them properly. So first, one of our AVSEC staff members at Sedgwick High School is retiring, Pat Fells. Let's recognize her, please. We had a nice video by Emily. I don't believe she's here today, so let's give her a round of applause as well. Sorry. Gene Jones in transportation. Let's give him a round of applause. All right, Becky Thompson, come on up here. Congrats. Congrats. You ready? Kim Barnes, Valley Center Middle School.
Thank you. Thanks for everything. I'll see you Wednesday.
Yes. All right, VCNEA has a couple recognitions they would like to do, so Shelley, I think, is coming up for those.
Well, good morning, and on behalf of VCNEA, I am honored to recognize 3 of our retirees for their dedication to our profession and our association. So they mentioned that Emily Mulch is not here. When Emily Mulch came to the district, she hopped right in to be building rep at the intermediate school and sat on the negotiations team, wholeheartedly went in, both feet, head first, I guess, however you want to look at it. So I just want to thank her for her dedication and being part of our team. Our next one is Becky Thompson, retiring BCNEA member. So Becky, stand up so everybody can applaud for you one more time. And they will be officially recognized at the KNA office on Thursday. But Becky has held quite a few hats in her time as an association member, from building rep at Abilene to sitting on the executive board to sitting at the negotiations table for all of you. And most recently was part of the KNA reading circle. So those free books that you kind of get in your library and divvied out, she spent a lot of time reading those books and making recommendations. So thank you very much, Becky. And our last retiring member, Lori Shaler, again has held many hats throughout her years, building rep at West, a representative when AVSEC came together. She was president and led negotiations, and again, we just want to thank her for her dedication to the association and her profession. I hope you all enjoy the free time that you don't know what you're going to do with yet. So thank you very much.
All right, I believe Dr. Gibson is next.
Good morning, Hornet family. How are you? Funny story, Kim was my teacher too. Not really. First off, thank you, Dr. Bonner, for facilitating the recognitions and retirement. For those of you that went into the Ring of Honor or MVPs, congratulations again. There is one other group I'd like to congratulate. If this school year was your very first year teaching, would you please stand to be acknowledged as well? You're about to experience sleep. It will come in about a month. So congratulations to our rookies. You've done a phenomenal job and made us better. For those that are moving on, likewise, we wish you the very best. And please know that you too made a difference in our lives. You too. Well, thank you. I first met our special guest 20 years ago when I was a teacher. And honestly, on the field, he was the most entertaining thing at that time to watch, if you know the Chiefs' history from about 20 years ago. Then back in October, I had the privilege to connect again with him. What I can tell you is that he is an inspiration to many. He is kind and truly one of the most hardworking people you will ever meet. Our guest speaker today is Dan Mears. Dan goes to work each day like many other men dressed in a suit. The only difference is that instead of wearing a tie with his suit, Dan wears a tail. You see, Dan has an unusual occupation. He is a professional mascot. Not that this would give it away or anything. For the past, get this, 33 years, Dan has served as Casey Wolf, the mascot for the Kansas City Chiefs football team. Dan averages more than 350 appearances each year, and he's traveled throughout the United States and around the world entertaining fans of all ages. In 2006, Dan became the first NFL mascot inducted into the Mascot Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Dan. When he began his career with the Chiefs back in 1990, Dan never dreamed that he would still be wearing a costume 3 decades later. But as Dan's wife likes to say, quote, "Old mascots never die, they just smell like it."
You want to know the best thing about that video? I get paid to do that. Isn't that amazing? So, Well, hey, good to be with you all today. I appreciate the chance to come out and speak. I don't know if you knew this or not, but my team won the Super Bowl this year. Hey. Now, I need to find out, is there anybody not a Chiefs fan here? Go ahead, you can put your hand, there we go, okay. You're on my prayer list, okay? But I thought I'd start by showing you a couple pictures from the Super Bowl. This is right after the game down on the field. Here's another picture from on the field. They shoot off a little bit of confetti if you win the Super Bowl. And then it's been a lot of fun working for the Chiefs because I've got to go to several Super Bowls recently. Here's last year's Super Bowl. That's me on my couch. Didn't go to that one, but here's a couple pictures from Super Bowl 55. This is me and the Buccaneers mascot in front of the stadium before the game. Here's a picture of me inside the stadium before kickoff. If you notice, Tom Brady photobombed me up on the scoreboard. And he retired. I hope he stays retired this time. And then here's a picture of me after Super Bowl 55. Yeah, that one didn't go the way I wanted it to, but that's okay because I also brought a couple pictures from Super Bowl 54. This turned out a lot better. This is right after the game. I was on the field. Some guy walked up. He's like, "Wolf, you want your picture with the Super Bowl trophy?" I'm like, "Heck yes, I want my picture with the Super Bowl trophy." Here's a picture of me and the 49ers mascot. No, Miami Beach. And then my favorite picture from Super Bowl 54 is me sunbathing on Miami Beach, right there. I'm the one on the bottom of the screen trying to figure out. And then my other favorite picture is this one. I got to lead the Chiefs onto the field. And I tell people I love that picture, but honestly, don't be too impressed. The only person I outran on Super Bowl Sunday was Andy Reid, our head coach. And Andy, I don't know if you've seen Andy or if you know him. He's a great guy, great coach. He's not very quick, to be honest with you. So, but like I said, I'm excited to be with you. My name is Dan Mears. I live in Kansas City. Back in Kansas City, I'm kind of known as the guy that's got a strange occupation, okay? I'm a mascot. Now, when you're a mascot, there's two questions people always ask as soon as they find out what I do. Always ask me the same two questions. Number one, is it hot in the costume? Yes, it is. If you get up close to a mascot, you'll know it's hot in the costume, okay? You all know this. Mascots, we all use the same cologne. It's called Febreze. You can get it at Walmart, okay? But we use a lot of this. And then the other question, I get this more than any other. How'd you get that job? You know, how'd you become a mascot? Well, I got my start back in college. I dressed up in a tiger suit at the University of Missouri. It won, thank you. That was more than I was expecting. So, but if you know, I was Truman the Tiger. I did that for 4 years, and then I graduated. That made my mom and my dad really happy, okay? Because you know this, all the smart kids graduate magna cum laude. I graduated thank the laude, okay? So I graduated. My mom and dad are both excited. They're like, "Son, we're proud, but you need to find a job." So if you know, first job I got after 4 years of college, went out. I got my first job working in professional baseball. I dressed up in a bird suit for the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, check out the bird legs on that bird, okay? Now, if you're a Cardinals fan, Cardinals mascot's character called Fred Bird. If you look at that photo, you can tell the guy that was Fred Bird before me, he was a short guy. I'm pretty tall. That meant his feathers covered up a lot more than my feathers covered up in the bird suit. So I'm running around in St. Louis in a bird suit. I get a call from the Chiefs. They wanted to know if I'd be this character, KC Wolf, and I thought, you know, I bet I'll look a lot better going to work each day in gray fur than yellow tights. And plus, if you know, in baseball, they play 81 home games in the summer. Professional football, we play 10 during the fall and the winter. Now, I might not be the brightest guy around, but I knew that was a good switch to make to the NFL. And so, came to Kansas City, and I've been with the Chiefs. I just finished my 33rd season with the Chiefs this year, which that's longer than some of you have been alive, I think. And all the others are going, that's a long time to avoid a real job, too. I know, but you know, I love what I do. People always ask, what's the best thing about being a mascot? Well, number one, I get paid that goofy, which is nice. Used to get in trouble for that in school, now I get a paycheck for it. So there's hope for some of your students, okay? Number two, I tell folks, I get to go to work each day dressed in a suit and a tail instead of a suit with a tie, okay? I want you to know, I never look this good for work. I did this collared shirt for you today, so I hope you appreciate this. Number three, I get to meet all the Chiefs players, get to know those guys, which is kind of interesting. And number four, I get to hug all the Chiefs cheerleaders too, even though I don't do that near as much because 29 years ago, this wolf got married to a fox, and the fox does not like me hugging cheerleaders anymore. I was going to bring my wife with me today, but she couldn't make it, so I did bring a picture of her. There she is. That's my trophy wife right there. You can tell we've been married a while. We're starting to look alike after 29 years. We even got matching swimsuits last summer right there. And then here's the rest of my family right there, all of us. Everybody looks alike in my family, big nose, big ears, big stomach. And then finally, here's us out of costume, me with my shirt off. And another shot of me with my shirt back on. But my wife's in the red sweater. I've got three great kids. My oldest daughter in the green jacket, she graduated from college 2 years ago. I was all excited. I thought I finally got one off of my payroll. And then she fell in love, got engaged. Guess who paid for a wedding last year? Yeah, if I look broke, I am broke still. My son, he got married 2 years ago. He's now in med school at the University of Missouri, which I find that kind of funny. His dad's a mascot. He's going to be a doctor. I thought there was a gene thing that was supposed to get passed, but apparently that skipped a generation or came from his mom's side of the family. And then my youngest daughter there in the white sweater, she's the athlete in the family. She actually plays college volleyball. She's at Louisiana Tech down in Ruston, Louisiana. But I love being a dad. All three of my kids got to bring me in for show and tell back in kindergarten. Kind of cool. I even got to trick or treat with them too about, 18 years ago. And of course, I went as the wolf. My kids were the three little pigs that year. So had good times. But I tell people, being a dad, that is the greatest job in the world. I love it. But now my kids are older. They're off at college getting married. So my wife and I, we're now empty nesters. And we're like, what do empty nesters do? So you know what we did? We sold our house, and then we bought a house on a lake. And I never dreamed how much fun a mascot could have on a lake. And of course, my kids are like, Dad, why didn't you buy a house on a lake when we lived with you? And I'm like, well, too expensive. That's the main reason. But now my wife calls me the lake rat. But this past summer, I've been tubing. I'm getting pretty good at water skiing in a costume. And by the way, if you look at that, it doesn't look like I've got a life jacket. That's because I can't get a life jacket over my suit. But under my outfit, under all the fur, I got 2 life jackets on because, listen, that costume gets real heavy when it gets wet. And I love Jesus, but that's not how I want to meet him, is in a costume water skiing. But every now and then I'll take the wave runner out. But what really gets our neighbors' attention more than anything else that we do at the lake is when we take the whole family out on the pontoon boat together. And, and honestly, I'm not sure if that is against our homeowner policy or not, but we don't care. We're having a lot of fun. You notice that pontoon ride's a little bit low on the backside when we get the whole family in there together. But you know, I love what I do. Being a mascot is just so much fun. But I once read this, that if you ask a man his occupation, all you do is you find out how he pays his bills, right? But if you ask a man his preoccupation, then you'll discover the passion of his life. Well, my occupation is mascot. I pay my bills running around in that suit. It's not rocket science, trust me. But my preoccupation, what I am truly passionate about in life, for me it is simply 3 things. Number 1 is my faith. Number 2 is my family. And number 3 is just using my life to make a positive impact in this world that I live in. You know, I get the opportunity to do a lot of speaking around the country. I do a lot of speaking on leadership. And let me tell you, my favorite quote on leadership, it's from a guy named John Maxwell. Bet you've heard that name before. But John Maxwell once said this: leadership, it's not about titles, not about positions, not about flow charts. Leadership is about one life influencing another. And honestly, that's what I'm passionate about, is encouraging others to live a life of influence in their homes, their schools, their workplaces, this community, your community in this world that we live in together. And, as I thought about what I wanted to share today, I thought about a quote that is on my desk at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. The quote says this: it says, "Your life is like a coin. You can spend it any way you wish, but you're only going to spend it one time, so spend it wisely." And I love that quote because that quote reminds me every day that I get to make choices, right? Every day I get to choose how I'm going to live this life. Again today, I get to decide how I'm going to spend my coin. And the older I get, and I am getting older, I hate to admit that, but just turned 40. So 16 years ago, okay? So now I'm in my 50s, and boy, that's fun. Got my first colonoscopy. There we go. That'll make you feel like an old guy in a hurry right there. That's a lot more than you wanted to know about me after breakfast too, isn't it? But you know what? The older I get, the more I realize that how you choose to spend your coin each day is just so important, because the choices we make every day, the big choices and especially the small ones, you know what? Those add up over time. And at the end of your life, when you look back at your life story, that's who you are. It's who you've become. It's the impact and influence that you've had with your life that's going to be determined by the choices you made along the way. And I remember when my kids were in elementary school, there used to be a poster at their school. Whenever I saw the poster, it would always remind me that even those small choices I make each day really are very important. Because here's what that poster said. I'm sure some of you have heard this before. But it said, guard your thoughts because they become your words. Guard your words, they become your actions. Guard your actions, they become your habits. Guard your habits, they become your character. Guard your character because it becomes your destiny. Those choices we make ultimately will determine our character and our destiny. I tell that to young people all the time when I go out and I speak at schools, that your destiny is not determined by chance. I think you know that. Our destiny is not determined by chance. Your destiny is determined by choice. The choices you make every day, that's what's writing your life story. And when you think about it, all of us here, every one of us in this auditorium, we're all writing a life story. Every day is just one more sentence. And I once read that since you're the author of your story, you get to decide each day whether that sentence you write ends with a period, a question mark, or an exclamation point. And, I've always tried to teach my kids, do your best to live every day you get so that it ends with an exclamation point. And, in the short time that I have with you this morning, they asked me to come in and share a little bit of my own life story. Now, if I was going to be perfectly honest, I would tell you the chapter of my story that I'm about to share, in many ways, it's my least favorite because it has been the most difficult, been by far the most painful. But the reason I share it is in other ways I see it as one of the great chapters of my life story, because through this chapter, I have learned some incredibly valuable life lessons. But the chapter that I'm going to share with you begins on November the 23rd of 2013. I tell people I'll always remember that day because on that day, I literally came within inches of losing my life. Now, thankfully, instead of losing my life, I spent 9 days in a hospital and I got some big scars. And I had a guy tell me once, scars are just tattoos that come with a cool story. Right? Well, today, I'm not going to show you my scars. If I do that, I will never get invited back to this school district, trust me. So, not going to show off my scars, but I do want to share just a little bit of my story. But the question I've been asked hundreds and hundreds of times over the past, it has been, 9.5 years now, is what happened to you? How'd you get hurt? And if you're a Chiefs fan, some of you might know this, the best way for me to answer that is by telling you that Casey Wolf, he got to go for his very first bungee jump, and let's just say things did not turn out good for me, okay? You see, I'm not only an NFL mascot, I'm also a failed bungee jump survivor. Not a lot of guys get to say that, okay? That's kind of a small niche I've created for myself at this point in life. But this morning, I'm going to share with you what happened, but more importantly, I'm going to share with you all the greatest lessons I've learned since that day. But November the 23rd of 2013 was a Saturday. I woke up bright and early that morning. I drove to a little town up in northern Missouri called Chillicothe, a great little community up there for their holiday parade. So Casey Wolf's in the parade, Santa Claus is in this parade, a whole bunch of horses are in this parade. And every horse in Chillicothe had eaten a whole bunch of fiber the day before that parade too. I found out as I walked down Main Street. But once I get done with the parade, I get back in my car, drive back to Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, where I was going to practice a stunt that I was going to perform the next day at the Chiefs game. We were going to play the San Diego Chargers, they're now the LA Chargers, and I was going to bungee jump and zip line into our stadium. Now, how that works is we hire a company that comes in and they set up a zip line. Okay, that zip line attaches to the lights at the top of the stadium, stretches all the way across the football field to the lights on the other side of Arrowhead. Then they attach a bungee cord to that zip line. Okay, sounds perfectly safe, right? Yeah, that's what my wife said too. But now, I know that's kind of hard to understand, so I'm going to show you a short video. Don't get nervous. This is not me getting hurt, okay? But this will give you an idea of what I was doing on the day I did get hurt. Now, the best part of the video at the end, you'll get to see what it looks like 260 feet above the football field at Arrowhead Stadium. Thinking that looks exciting, and there's a whole lot of people looking at me thinking that man's an idiot, right? But as you can see, so what was supposed to happen, I was going to dress up in my costume, jump out of the lights at the top of the stadium. That day I was supposed to fall for about 20 feet. The bungee cord was supposed to catch me, bounce me back into the air, and then I was going to zip line out over the field like you just watched in this video. So, supposed to be the greatest mascot entrance ever. Well, unfortunately, that day things did not go as planned, because when I jumped out of the lights, because of the slack that they still had in the zip line, instead of falling 20 feet, I fell approximately 70 to 75 feet, and I hit the seats in the upper level of our stadium. I hit the seats so hard I knocked 2 seats out of the concrete. So if you ever go to Arrowhead, swing by section 324, row 32, seats 22 and 23. Those look a little bit newer. That's me, okay? But after I hit, I still remember, I guess my body went into shock. I was just shaking. My whole body was shaking. I couldn't stop. I was really struggling to breathe. And I'll be honest, at that point, I was scared. I just wanted to get down. Well, unfortunately, if your bungee cord is attached to a zip line, okay, there's no way to get down halfway through the ride, okay? It's like a roller coaster. So if you go to a theme park, get on a roller coaster, you're not going to get off the roller coaster until the ride comes to a stop. Well, the same was true for me. I jumped out of the lights, I fall, I hit the seats. At that point, the bungee cord yanked me back into the air, and then I start to zip line out over the field like you just watched in this video. Now, I wish I had time to share with you all the details of what happened that day and how I can look back on this, and trust me, I've thought about this so many times since it's happened, but the fact that I'm still here, okay, the fact that I'm alive, I get to come to you, come and share my story with you nice folks today, makes me extremely grateful, okay? And I'm just going to warn you today, sometimes in life when you're extremely grateful for something like the fact that you're still alive, you know what will happen? Sometimes that'll make your eyes water. Okay? And that's a good thing, because somebody told me once, if your eyes don't water, your head will swell. Think about that. So if you See, my eyes water. It's so I don't get a big head like some of the NFL players I work with. You didn't hear that. But I got to make a long story shorter, so I'll tell you, I got to do something on that day that was never, ever on my bucket list. I got to ride really fast in the back of an ambulance, okay? They took me straight to the emergency room. As soon as I get there, there's all these doctors and nurses. They wheel me in. They start doing CAT scans, x-rays. They're checking me out head to toe and inside out. And here's what they found. They discovered I'd broken 7 ribs on my left side, and I'd also collapsed my left lung. That's why I was really struggling to breathe, as my left lung had collapsed. Now, I don't know if you've ever collapsed a lung. How they fix that, they give you a chest tube, but I don't know if you've had one. Don't put those on your bucket list, because here's what I do remember. A doctor looked at me and said, "Mr. Mears, it's just a small little tube we're going to insert into your chest cavity." And he said, and I quote, "You might feel a little bit of pressure." Huh. Well, apparently that guy had never had a chest tube in his life, because it is a lot more than a little pressure going in and coming back out. But not only had I broken 7 ribs, collapsed my left lung, they also found I shattered my tailbone. I cracked my sacrum, the bone your tailbone attaches to. I got a big gash on the back of my left leg here that required stitches. And then I got several units of blood, because I lost a lot of blood after I'd hit the seats. But then my worst injury, they found I'd broken the T12 vertebrae in my back, and the next day I had surgery. They gave me these new titanium rods. That's a picture of what my back looks like now. Those rods are what stabilize that part of my spine. And then they were also nice enough to give me 8 of these. I don't know if you can see that from where you're sitting. You can see them in the x-ray up there. These are the screws that hold my rods in place back there. Now, if you look at that, it looks like something you could pick up over at the local hardware store. Apparently these are a little more expensive than the ones they're selling at the hardware store right now. But here's what I remember most about that night of November the 23rd, 2013. Here's a picture of what I looked like, and you probably think, you don't look very good. Well, I didn't feel very good that night either. But here's what I remember most. The doctor walked into this hospital room. He told me all of my injuries, explained I was going to have back surgery the next morning. He's walking out of the room. He gets to the door. He turned around and he looked at me, and I'll never forget his words. He said, "Mr. Mears," he said, "I hope you realize tonight that you are a very, very lucky man." He said, "If you fell 75 feet," he said, "number one, you're lucky you're still alive." He said, "Number two, you're very lucky you're not paralyzed right now." And, you know, that night in that hospital bed, I thought a lot about what that doctor said. You know, I thought about my life. You know what I thought a whole lot about that night is how I was choosing to spend my coin each and every day. And today, I just want to share with you what I consider 3 of the greatest lessons I've learned since that night in that hospital bed. And these are 3 lessons I'm committed to living my life by from here on out. Number 1 is this: to live every day you get. Live it with character, live it with purpose, and live it with passion. You know, live your life with character, with purpose, and passion. I've got a friend of mine, he likes to say this: we're all like a jug of milk. We all come with an expiration date, right? You know the only difference? Our expiration date's not printed on us, okay? For a while, I thought my expiration date might be November 23rd, 2013. Thankfully, that wasn't my expiration date. You know what I don't know? I don't know when my expiration date is. You know what I do know is every day I get between this day right here and that day. Whenever that day comes, I intend to live this life to the fullest. I want to live it, like I said, with character, with purpose, and passion. And I challenge you to do the same. I challenge you, take every day you get and use it to be a blessing in somebody's life. Use it to make a positive impact in somebody else's life story. You know, life's a gift. You've heard that before. You about lose your life, you start to understand how much of a gift it really is. And, you know, every day we get's important. I think we forget that sometimes. We get so busy in life and caught up in things that we forget that every day really is important. I'll share with you one more quote that's on my desk at Arrowhead Stadium. I read this quote every morning. It's the first thing I do when I get to work. But the quote says this. It says, "This is the beginning of a brand new day. God has given me this day to use as I will. I can waste it or I can use it for good. But what I do on this day is important because I'm exchanging a day of my life for it. When tomorrow comes, this day is going to be gone forever, leaving in its place something I've traded for it. I want it to be gain and not loss, good and not evil, success and not failure, in order that I shall not regret the price I paid for it." And I love that quote because that quote reminds me, once again, today's God's gift to me, right? Today I get to choose how I'm going to live this life. Again, today I get to decide how I'm going to spend my coin. And I tell you, this day and every day I get between now and my expiration date, I hope to live it with character, with purpose, and with passion. And I wish I had more time to talk about that character piece. I speak a lot on character too, and I tell you one of my favorite quotes on character, it comes from one of my favorite football coaches. This guy, he's actually my second favorite coach. My favorite coach is that guy, Andy Reid. He's the one that helped me get this Super Bowl ring. Did I mention we had won the Super Bowl? Couldn't remember if I'd said anything about that or not. This is actually Casey Wolf's Super Bowl ring. So this is from Super Bowl 54. But when I got my ring for the first time, we took a bunch of pictures of it, sent it off to a 3D printer, and this is what came back. So if you wonder what the Super Bowl rings look like we haven't got this year's yet, but from Super Bowl 54, it looks identical to this crazy thing. And I tell you a quick funny story. When I brought my ring home for the very first time, all three of my kids were there that day, and my kids are like, Dad, that thing is really cool. Because if you've seen one of the real ones, they're kind of big and gaudy, but they're cool, trust me. And my kids are like, Dad, you got to keep doing that job until you get 3 of those, or we're all going to fight over that when you die someday. And I'm like, I told them, I'm like, you fight over it, I'll give it to your mom's next husband. That'll teach all 3 of you. So, but Andy Reid's always going to be my favorite football coach. But my second favorite coach, some of you have heard this name, a guy named Lou Holtz, right? And Lou Holtz, he used to coach at the University of Notre Dame. Lou Holtz used to always tell his players this: there's never a right time to do the wrong thing. There's never a wrong time to do the right thing. Think about that. Never a right time to do the wrong thing. Never a wrong time to do the right thing. Hey, if we all simply put that principle into practice each day, this world would be a better place for all of us to live. But that's the first lesson I learned, is live life with character, live it with purpose, live it with passion. Let me share with you the second lesson I learned. It's something my mom tried to tell me in high school. I didn't think she was that smart at the time, and then come to find out she's a little smarter than I gave her credit for. But I remember my mom used to always tell me and my brothers that the most important things in life are not things. The most important things in life are relationships. And you know what? Come to find out, my mom's a pretty smart gal, because as I spent 9 days in the hospital, not one time did I think about how big my house was, how nice my car was, or whether I had the latest smartphone or not. Not once I think about whether I had the latest fashion clothing either. As a matter of fact, for 9 days I wore that same outfit, okay? And it was not fashionable. It was well ventilated, I will say that. You ever seen those hospital gowns? You ever got to wear one? You know what they say about wearing a hospital gown? It's kind of like owning a bad health insurance policy. You only think you're fully covered, right? There's a lot of truth to that. I remember right after I had surgery, they try to get you up and start walking pretty quick after surgery, and I quickly realized why they called it the ICU at the hospital. Right there. That's my wife hates that slide, and I love it, and she didn't come with me, so I put it back in today. But you spend 9 days in a hospital bed, you get a lot of time just to lay and think. It was during those 9 days, I was reminded just over and over and over again that the most meaningful things in my life, it's not my things, it's not my stuff. You know what helped me get through 9 days in a hospital and then 6 months of very painful therapy and rehab, just day after day after day? 3 things: my faith, my family, my friends. Guess what? All 3 of those are all relationships, okay? My faith, that's my relationship with the Lord. And I tell this to people all the time. My goal as a man, every day I get out of bed, listen, it never changes, okay? My goal is the same every single day. Get up, go out, love other people. Not judge other people, that's easy to do. Go out, love other people. That's not easy to do, because how many of you know this? Some people in this world are hard to love. Don't act like you don't have those people in Kansas, okay? And if you don't, come back to Kansas City. I'll introduce you to a few, okay? But love them anyway, because listen, one of these days when my life story's complete, when people are sitting around in my funeral, I could care less if they know I was in the Mascot Hall of Fame or not. You didn't even know there was a Mascot Hall of Fame, did you? Yeah, nobody does, guys. I could care less if they know how many years I spent as a mascot for the Chiefs or how many Super Bowls I may have gone to, because one day when my story's complete, I don't want to be remembered just for what I did, how I hope to be remembered that day, is for who I was. And if the only thing people ever say about my life is that I love the Lord and I love people, I'm good with that, okay? That's how I hope to be remembered. But that's my faith. Secondly is my family, my wife, my kids, my parents, my in-laws. I'm just blessed to have a great family to support me through those difficult days. And then finally, my friends from my neighborhood, my church, my co-workers, just so many great folks. They'd bring a meal to us or they'd stop and visit because they knew I was sitting at home bored stiff with nothing to do, and get all kinds of encouraging text messages and emails, get all kinds of cards and letters too. I did bring one I want to show you. If anybody appreciates this, you all will. I think I speak at a lot of schools, and when I say a lot, if there's not a pandemic going on, I hang out with kids all the time. Well, when all these elementary kids found out Casey Wolf got hurt, what happens? They start making cards and mailing them to you up at the stadium, right? I have got boxes and boxes of these. This one here might be my favorite. Came on a hot pink card from some little girl out in the middle of Kansas, and it said, "Get well soon, Casey Wolf. Merry Christmas and Happy Thanksgiving." So I knew you did it a little different in Kansas. I just wasn't sure what it was. But the inside of the card's my favorite. It says, "Hello, Casey Wolf. My name's Lauren Jones. You came for an assembly at my school. You probably don't remember, but I'm from Sterling Elementary, and I am so, so sorry. And you know what? You're so lucky you didn't die. That would have been sad, wouldn't it?" Merry Christmas. Love, Lauren Jones. And so that right there is what I love about kids. They just shoot straight with you. Boy, that'd been sad if you would have died, wouldn't it? But it's cards like that remind me, my mom's a smart gal. Most important things in life are not things. Most important things in life are relationships. And let me challenge you, as you decide how you're going to spend your coin each day, I challenge you to make relationships a priority. Because if you're going through a difficult time in life, a lot of people still are, it's your relationships are what gets you through the difficult times. And even if you're not going through a difficult time, if you're here today and everything's good in your world, and I hope it is, hey, here's what I've discovered on the good days and the not so good days, it's my relationships, my relationship with the Lord, with others. That's what gives my life meaning and purpose, And never forget this little piece of mascot wisdom. It's the banana that gets separated from the bunch. That's the first one that gets eaten. Think about it. Yeah, that's deep, isn't it? Yeah. Don't think too hard about that, by the way, okay? That just means life's a team sport. We need each other. What you're doing here today is important. Hey, let me share with you one more lesson I learned after I got hurt. And I learned this in January of 2014. This is a couple months after my bungee jump. I'm on my way to another physical therapist appointment. I don't know if you've ever been to the physical therapist. I called him my physical terrorist after a while. If you've been there, you know why. But on my way to another appointment, I'm feeling sorry for myself. I don't know if you've ever lived with pain. I still live with pain as a result of my accident, and it is no fun, okay? You don't get a vacation from it. It'll wear you out physically, emotionally. A lot of days are discouraging. Once in a while, you get the days that are just flat out depressing, okay? And this is one of those days. I'm driving to another appointment, having a pity party. By the way, those never work, so just save your time. And I'm listening to the radio station. This radio personality comes on, and he says this. He says, "Every morning that you wake up, everybody's got something to complain about. Everybody's got something to be thankful for." He said, "Whichever one you choose to focus on, it's going to determine your attitude for the day." And I still remember I was sitting in my car, I'm like, you know what? I think I just learned a valuable lesson right there. I learned that, I guess I could sit and complain that I had 7 broken ribs, or I could choose to be thankful I had 17 good ones that weren't broken yet, right? It can always be worse. I realized I could complain about my collapsed left lung that still wasn't back to normal. I wasn't sure what was going on because I couldn't see it, but something wasn't right. Or I could be thankful God gave me 2 lungs. My other one worked just fine, okay? I realized I could complain about all these new scars I have on my body now, or I can be thankful if I keep my pants and shirt on like I'm supposed to. Nobody gets to see those scars, right? Not like I'm a Chippendale, I'm a mascot, right? And trust me, I would not have made the Chippendale Hall of Fame, okay? And I need to tell you this right now because I'm feeling bad. That picture I showed earlier, that was photoshopped. really don't look like that with my shirt off, okay, guys? That day I wanted to complain that once again I woke up with all this pain again, my back, my tailbone, my ribs. But for the first time since my bungee jump, I actually stopped that day, and I told God thanks for my pain. And by the way, that is really hard to do, okay? I think I'm pretty good about saying thank you for my many blessings. Saying thank you for pain is hard, but I did. I thanked him because I realized, you know what? If I couldn't feel pain, I'd be dead or I'd be paralyzed. And then I thought about that, death, paralysis, pain. Guess what? I got the best one out of the three. Mother Teresa once said this. She said, it's okay to have pain in your life. It's not okay to be one. I love that quote. You guys, that quote reminds me every day. It's okay if I've still got a pain in my rear. It's not okay for me to be a pain in your rear, right? I bet you got a few pains in your rear in life, right? Love those kids anyway, like I said, but I was that kid sitting in that chair about 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. But, I tell people I feel best when I'm active, okay? So if you come to a Chiefs game next year, you see Casey Wolf running around down on the field, I feel a whole lot better than if I sit around, because if I sit around, everything tightens up, everything hurts again. Now, here's the bad thing about sleep. It's not a lot of activity. It's lying flat on your back for 7 or 8 hours. So, every morning I wake up with this pain again before I get up, and I do my little stretching routine. That helps a little bit. Most people wake up, drink a cup of coffee. Not me. I wake up and roll around on my bedroom floor trying to get my back to loosen up just a little. But, every morning I get out of bed, I realize I get to make a choice. And by the way, you get to make this same choice. But when my alarm goes off, I realize I can choose to rise and shine, or I can choose to rise and whine. And you know what? I don't want to be a whiner, because whiners don't make a positive impact in the lives of others. Whiners do not have a positive influence in other people's stories. And, today you've heard me talk to you about how your life's like a coin. You can spend it any way you wish. That's exciting, but you're only spending it one time, so spend it wisely. It reminds me of one other thing that my parents used to tell me and my brothers growing up. They'd always say that your life is a lot like your finances, okay? You can do one of two things with your money. You can spend it or you can invest it. Money you spend, you're never going to see that again. But money you invest, that's wise. That's eventually going to multiply, return to you. When you think about it, hey, we're all going to do the same thing with our lives. You're either going to spend it or you're going to invest it. A life that's just spent selfishly, that right there is wasted. But a life that's invested in helping others, encouraging others, teaching others, serving others, just like you do each day. I know I am standing here preaching to the choir right now, but you know what? That kind of service, that kind of life is going to bear fruit for a long, long time. And so my challenge to you today, take your coin, be an investor, not only with your money, but more importantly, with your life. Take your coin and invest it by living every day you get. Live it with character, live it with purpose, live it with passion. Take your coin and invest it by making your relationships a priority. And finally, take your coin and invest it. Learn to live like a shiner and not like a whiner, because I believe we put those things into practice. Our homes, our schools, our communities, this world's going to be a better place for all of us to live. So I will tell you one other lesson I learned after I got hurt, and you probably know this now that we've all been through this COVID together, is there's nothing good on daytime television. Did you know that? I was losing my mind, okay? I'm used to being an active guy. I'd go to my physical therapy appointment. I'd come back home. I spent about a week searching, just looking for anything worth watching. And there's nothing. So what do you do if you're off work for 6 months and you don't have anything to do? I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'll write a book. So I did. I wrote this book called Wolves Can't Fly, since I proved that wolves cannot fly. This book is all about my career as a tiger, a bird, a wolf, places I've been all over the world, people I've met, crazy mascot stories. I could stand here all day and tell you crazy mascot stories, okay? I've walked 5 women down the aisle on their wedding day dressed in a costume. I've been best man. I'm in 10 or 11 weddings. I was the best man. I didn't even know who the groom was. I was his best man. I stood in a wolf suit wearing a tuxedo holding a ring in my paw. And then last year I got to check a new one off my bucket list. I got to be the flower girl. Got to drop petals coming. Oh yeah. If you got the money, I got the time, I tell people, right? Then tells a story about what happened to me November 23rd, 2013, all the lessons I've learned since that time. A lot of the quotes you've heard me use are in this book here. But I tell people, the reason I promote the book whenever I go speak at conferences all over the country, I don't make a dime off of this book, okay? All the money we make off of book sales, we give it away. We do a lot of work with charity. We do a lot of work with homeless shelters and orphanages. And I just want to close real quick by showing you a couple quick pictures of places that we help support, not that. This right here is an orphanage in Haiti. This is one of the greatest trips that I ever took. It was right after the doctor said, you're strong enough, you're healthy enough, you can wear a costume again. Took this trip down to Haiti to work at this orphanage, and once again, learned another lesson. You know, when I was doing all the therapy and rehab, I spent most of my time at home. You spend all your time at home, you start to live in a small world. You live in a small world, all your problems seem huge. You go to a place like Haiti, work in an orphanage where they don't have hot water, they don't have air conditioning, you sleep under a mosquito net on a really, really uncomfortable bed. All of a sudden your world starts to get big. You live in a big world, that'll put your own problems in perspective in a hurry. But that's one place we help support. This right here is a village in the Philippines. A lot of their kids were getting sick just because they didn't have clean water. And so we went over there and helped them build a well in that village just so they could have clean drinking water. And then a little closer to home, you may do this around here too, called Shop with a Cop. That's my cop outfit, by the way. But we donate money so underprivileged students can buy Christmas gifts for their families at Christmas time. And then this next one, okay, I just spoke here about 3 months ago at their chapel service. This is the Kansas City Rescue Mission. It's one of the homeless shelters in downtown Kansas City. Every year they do a thing called the toilet paper challenge. As you can imagine, they go through a lot of toilet paper at the mission. So they do this toilet paper challenge to collect toilet paper. Well, I've sold a bunch of books, so I was going to just buy a bunch of toilet paper. So I did that, but I thought, you know, I should team up with a school too. So I went to an elementary school that was close to my house, and I talked to the principal. I said, let's do this. Have all the kids bring toilet paper. Whichever class brings in the most toilet paper, I'll buy pizza. We'll have a pizza party for the class. Well, you guys know this. Kids like pizza. Okay, apparently those kids love it at that school because they went crazy. It took us like 3 weeks from what I purchased, what the kids all brought in. We ended up with over 16,500 rolls of toilet paper. Oh yeah, COVID didn't start the shortage. We did that. Okay? I was in Kansas City. So you see that big box truck right there? It's a huge truck. It took 2 of these trucks to get all this toilet paper to the mission. And I told you, I just spoke there about 3 months ago. They're still wiping with the same toilet paper. We did that 2 years ago now. And I'm like, you need more toilet paper? They're like, nope, we're still good on the toilet paper. They're like, we're running a little low on toothbrushes now. So I went back to the school. We just teamed up again. We just dropped them off 6,000 toothbrushes too. So they're going to be wiping and brushing a long time at the mission, Kansas City. Then a couple more quick ones. This right here is a leper colony in India. Believe it or not, leper colonies still exist. And we were over there, so just spent one day just trying to love on those people, just somehow try to be a blessing in their lives. The reason we were in India is we help support several orphanages there too. They call them hope homes in India. Also got to have some fun in India. Got to knock this off my bucket list. Got to ride a camel in a wolf suit. Bet you don't get to do that in Kansas very often, do you? Yeah. Had so much fun on the camel. I rode the elephant too while I was over there. And then my most recent trip is I got to take a trip to Africa. This is a school in Africa that they're starting up a feeding program that we're blessed to get to be a part of. And I'll tell you my favorite thing about this trip, the students you see in this picture, they've never seen white people, okay? And if they'd never seen a white guy, I promise they'd never seen anything that looked like this come walk through the village either. So that was a fascinating trip. And 2 more quick ones. This right here is a girls' orphanage in the Dominican Republic that we were able to help support. And I'll show you my favorite picture from that trip, might be from any of my trips, is this one right here. As a matter of fact, I like that picture so much, I wrote another book and I called it Mascot on a Mission, Living a Life of Influence. I use that picture right there as the cover shot. So let me close with this. Can I be honest? I don't like writing books. I really don't. I'm a mascot. There is a lot of energy in this body right here. Sitting behind a computer writing books is not my idea of a good time. I don't really like it. You know what I like? I like giving money to people and organizations that are making a positive impact, especially if that is in the lives of young people or people less fortunate? You know, I have people ask this question all the time. Why is a 56-year-old man still wear a costume? I'm sure my father-in-law thinks it every day of his life. Why is a 56-year-old guy still wear a costume? You want to know the answer is that picture. You guys, it says it all. Guys, I want my life to make an impact. I want this world to be a better place. Just because I was here for a short time, I want every person I meet, and I mean every person, to walk away after an encounter with me. Guess what? I want them to know they're loved. I want them to know they're special. I want them to know that somebody cares. And there's no exceptions to that. So I don't care if they're young or old. I don't care if they're black or white. I don't care what their abilities or disabilities are. I don't care if they voted for Biden or Trump. I don't even care if they speak my language, okay? I want them to know somebody cares. You know, I meet a lot of people. I meet a whole lot of people in my job. And I know you meet some of these same people, because some of these people are in that chair right there. Some of these people are in your classroom, in your community, that they go through life and it's almost like their buckets are empty. You know what I'm talking about. They seem discouraged, they seem depressed, they wonder, does my life matter? Does anybody really care? And you know why I think that is too often in life, we go through this life, we're passionate. I mean, we get passionate about things that don't really matter. And then we're passive about those things in life that really should matter. You want to be a difference maker? You want to make an impact in your home, your school, your community, this world that we live in? Here's my challenge to you. Learn to live life for the things that truly matter, because it's a rewarding way to live life. It's why I keep doing what I do. I love football. That Super Bowl's cool. I hope to do it one more time so my kids don't have to fight when I die someday, okay? But that's not the reason I keep doing the job. The reason I keep doing this job is every day I get the opportunity to hopefully go out and make this world just a little bit brighter place for others, making the impact in somebody's life. But I hope you know this. You don't have to be a professional mascot to do that. You don't have to travel to the other side of the world to do it. You can do it right here in your school, your classroom, you know. And I don't care if you're the CEO of a company or a custodian. I don't care if you're the head coach of your team or you're just a team mascot. Each one of us every day has that opportunity to make this world just a little bit brighter place for others, just by the way we choose to live life, just by the way we choose to invest our coin. And so that's my challenge to you today. Take your coin. You got one more. You got a month and a half left, something like that. Take your coin, go out and look for opportunities to make an impact in this world and the lives of others. So, you know one reason I love speaking to y'all? You are a lot better behaved than the Chiefs fans I work with at Arrowhead Stadium. So I bet you didn't have a tailgate party in the parking lot before you walked in. That might have something to do with it. But you all have been a great audience. Hey, if anybody is interested, I did bring books today. I've only got this book with me, okay, but the Wolves Can't Fly book. If anybody's interested in books, books are $12 each, and we've also got these pictures of KC Wolf. These are free. That means they don't cost any money. You have no excuse not to take one of these to your kid, okay? But those are free. And you also keep seeing me pull this coin out of my pocket. We got these coins made a few years ago. On one side of the coin, it's got a picture of KC Wolf. It says, "Life is like a coin, spend it wisely." On the back of the coin, it just says, "Rise and shine." But books are $12, coins are $3. And we got a special for you today. You can get a book and a coin for $15 today, okay? But that's just for you guys here in Kansas, because I love you so much. So, and I do want you to know too, I had a lady call me just the other day and told me it's the best book she's ever read. That's my mom, okay? Only person that's told me that at this point, okay? Will not promise you these are the best books you're ever going to read. Here's what I do promise you. They got a lot of pictures in it, because some of you don't like to read anyway. And I also promise you all the money we make off this, we're just giving it to others. And so, and all the money we make off the books today, we're going to give to the students here in your school district that need help with their lunch and fees. And there's no special word that they, I asked if the superintendent had a special name for that, but so we're sell buck, and it'll come right back here to your school district to help those students that are struggling for lunch money and stuff. So, but anyway, hey, if you girls want your picture with the bling, I'm going to be out there at a table with the books. And if you want your picture with the bling, you feel free to do that. And I'll also have the wolf. I did you a favor. I brought the head that smelled the best. Not all of them smell this good, trust me. So, but hey, thank you so much for the opportunity to come out and share with you. Thank you for what you do and the impact you're making.
Isn't he an inspiration? Each day you get an opportunity to spin your coin. And I know that you've spent a lot of coins this year doing the best for your kids. Now, we're at the end of the game almost. And I'm only here for a little bit longer for your quarterback, but let's leave it all on the table, okay? Character, purpose, passion have a fantastic end of the year as well. See ya.